That beautiful smile. This happened more than a decade ago. I was a high school student, training for an inter-school math competition when I saw that beautiful smile. As a young girl, I found myself interested in anything related to the paranormal, e.g. true Philippine ghost stories, a book series, SFOGs, an old website, all shake rattle and roll movies, and etc. I don't know, it was just fun to read and learn on something mysterious and scary. Other than the fact that, at that time, it was quite popular and trendy, something to do with Asians liking the horror theme, cue in Sacred Rihanna. This particular interest was what brought me closer to my math tutor/trainer. Instead of our usual discussion on numbers, we sometimes distracted ourselves with short conversations of what we've recently read or seen. Mind you, we've both never experienced anything paranormal or close to it at that. We just loved the topic and it was a great source of distraction from hours of looking at numbers. All of my math trainings were held at one of the meeting rooms on the second floor of an old, but functional, building. Beside that meeting room were offices, and up the stairs is also an office. One particular rainy night, my tutor gave me some problem sets and I lent her the new book I was reading to keep her occupied. While I was busy solving the problems she gave me, she told me she needed to go to the bathroom and asked if I was okay with being left alone or if I wanted to come along. The comfort room was on the same floor but it was at the end of a pretty dark hallway, and I didn't want to be left alone outside the comfort room, so I said I'd stay and solve the rest instead. So, she left me there while I busied myself with finding X. Some few minutes later I heard some footsteps outside and figured the people from the office were leaving. Then, the footsteps stopped and I heard a sound you'd hear of a heavy thing being dragged across the floor, followed by single steps, which was weird. The door was part glass, so, given my curiosity, I looked at the door to see what made that sound. Behind the glass, I saw a beautiful lady smiling at me. She was wearing a black dress and was just standing behind the door. She was alone and she didn't knock or try to open the door or move at all. She just stood there smiling at me. I thought it was weird, so I just kept solving my problems. I still saw her standing there through my peripheral vision. I looked again and she was still there, just smiling. When I looked down, I saw the book I lent my tutor and the anxiety slowly crept in, but I decided to just shrug it and thought maybe she was a friend of my tutor or something and my tutor told her to wait. Finally, after what felt like forever, my tutor came back and the smiling lady was nowhere to be found. I figured she left after waiting for a while and would just come back or something. So, I told my tutor and asked if she was expecting anyone. She said no, and since we just recently moved our training sessions there, she hasn't told anyone of our new location yet, so she's not expecting a visit. Still, I shrugged and said maybe it was just the people from any of the offices. Her face went from curious to awfully frightened, then she said there's no one left in the building. The people from the offices left early for an event, even the lights were off. Without a single word, we stared at each other and cleared up as fast as we could. I can't imagine how fast we made it out of that building. After that, I stopped training with her and just trained at school instead. It has been a decade and sometimes when I pass through that old building, I can't help but wonder, who was she? Phantom door knocks in the night. This story occurred in the 1960s while I was still 7 or 8 years of age. We used to live in a Quonset house in Diliman, Quezon City in the Philippines, and this was where this story happened. This single-story house, which was once used by the liberation forces of the U.S. Army after World War II, was quite spacious with a floor area of around 30 square meters and had 2 big bedrooms. I slept in the bedroom occupied by my parents. I slept in my own bed while my parents had this big matrimonial-style bed, while my only sister had the other bedroom all to herself. One night, a series of loud knocks on our front door roused me from my sleep. Upon waking up and gaining lucidity, I was still able to catch this sequence of 3 knocks, a short pause, followed by another sequence of 3 quick raps on our wooden front door. Our bedroom was just beside the living room and there was no mistaking that the loud knocks were coming from our front door. My parents heard this also and my father grudgingly stood up and proceeded to the living room. My mother also got up from bed and followed my father to find out who the nocturnal visitor was. All the while I remained in bed and heard my father unlocking and opening the front door. A few moments later I heard the door being shut and the door lock engaged. I was waiting for the voice of the visitor since I was curious who would come and visit us in the middle of the night. I only heard the voices of my parents and nothing else. A few minutes later they returned to the bedroom and I asked my mother who the visitor was. What I heard baffled me until this day. She said that my father saw no one when he opened the door. He even went outside to look around suspecting that some neighborhood rascals were playing a prank on us, but the area outside the house was totally deserted. My father just remained silent, shrugged his shoulders, and went back to sleep. The next morning, while the entire family was eating breakfast, one of my uncles, I.E., my father's brother, arrived from the province of Cavite to deliver some bad news. According to him, a cargo truck lost its brakes and rammed the house of a close relative, killing him and his entire family while they slept. My father asked my uncle when this accident happened and he replied that it occurred the night before, shortly before midnight. I recall my mother making the sign of the cross when she heard this because it was also the same time when we heard those mysterious door knocks on our front door. My father left later that morning for Cavite to attend to the burial preparations of their relatives. This is just one of those paranormal incidents in my life that I actually experienced firsthand. I unmistakably heard those door knocks loud and clear with my own ears, phantom door knocks that eventually became a harbinger of death within the family. Is that a kid? It was when I was in first year college, 2009. Normally before going home, I always drop by my cousin's house so we can chit-chat with my cousins. Sometimes my other cousins visit also, to enjoy food while watching a movie or sing karaoke. My cousin's kids, I treat them as my cousins since we are as of the same age, and I treat my second-degree cousin as my uncle, but I call him Kuya and her wife Ate as respect. That day, me and my cousin Naomi, not her real name, decided to drop by our cousin Elsa's, not her real name, house for a jamming. We are into singing, LOL. When we arrived, we started to set up the karaoke and the snacks. While doing normal stuffs, choosing the next song and eating snacks while the other one is singing, I noticed someone cross from the stairs to their restroom and he moved very quick. The setup is their stairs to the second floor is facing the wall in front of it and underneath is the television where we are enjoying the karaoke, so the staircase is behind the TV facing the opposite side. The restroom is across the base of the staircase. When I saw someone crossing from the stairs to the restroom again and again, I already asked my cousin Elsa. I said, Elsa, I didn't know that Igor, not his real name / Elsa's younger brother, is here. She said, huh? No one's here, it's just us. How could you tell he is here? I replied, I saw some dark skin, short kid like who keeps on crossing from the stairs to your restroom. Then she nervously said, don't joke about it, Diane, we're alone here. Then I said, I'm not joking. I really did see someone over there. I pointed the area. Then in a glimpse of time, Naomi and Elsa are hurrying to get out of the house, and because of their action, I got scared too and followed them out of the house. We just stayed outside until her mom came home later that afternoon. Her mom, My second-degree cousin's wife said that even her best friend Jenny saw someone looking at her face to face while she was sleeping in their living room. She said that the base of the staircase is a portal where spirits can pass through from their world to ours.
You subscribe video.
People in our house. This story is from my older sister's experience in our house. Our house was built in 1944, which at that time the world is still under World War II, where a lot of people died and sacrificed their lives. Our house was built in front of a graveyard before, where an auditorium stands right now. Schools are not yet built as well, and the graveyard dates way back before World War II. There were other nationalities who live in our house due to the war, and this has a big role in my sister's experience. My sister was in her early teenage years before she was sent to Manila. She used to sleep on the living room floor during afternoon nap. Siesta is necessary for Filipino kids because elderly believed that this can help kids grow faster. My older sister was napping one afternoon when she was awakened by something that made her uneasy. She moved a bit and opened her eyes. She was frozen at what she saw. She saw the house full of people standing straight, not moving, just looking in her direction. Even the ones that are on the stairs are just looking at her. She said that some of them are dressed as nurses, some are soldiers, and some looks just like random civilians. They look pale and blank. My older sister is too scared to move. She just shut her eyes with tears and said a prayer until she fell asleep. When she woke up, she was already okay and was able to tell our eldest brother what she saw and was scared to have an afternoon nap alone. Until now, she said she could still remember the feeling that she is being watched while she's sleeping. Are these just mere coincidences? I was missing in action for a while. I was busy at work and with my life. By the way, I mentioned on my first story that we are on the process of buying my cousin's house, the one where Abby, my cousin's deceased wife, still visits. We already moved into that house. Let me also tell you guys that I am not like Melinda Gordon, who made the paranormal a part of her daily life. I mean, there are years that I do not witness anything paranormal. But I want to share my weird week, this week. Exactly 7 days ago, I think I got paranoid, with no reason at all. I just felt scared. I was still up at 11 p.m. watching TV. I went to my room to retire at around 11:15. I was already half asleep, half awake when I thought someone was knocking on my door. I ignored it, thinking that it was just my imagination. But I heard it the second time, so I looked at the door and I swear I saw a shadow pass by my door. I saw the shadow because we always leave our living room lights on, and our living room is right outside my door. I thought maybe it was Mom. So I got up, opened the door, and found no one outside my room. I just shrugged my shoulder and went back to bed. Just when I felt comfortable back in my bed, I heard someone washing the dishes. Again, at first I doubted myself, and tried not to think of anything unusual, but then I still hear the clanking of the dishes, glasses, and other utensils. This went on for about 2 minutes until I could no longer help it. I ran out of my room, knocked like crazy on my mom's door. She asked me what happened, to which I replied, I saw a rat in my room. Not so lame excuse maybe. I just didn't feel like telling her at that time. Starting that night, I slept with her and my 2 nephews in their room. 2 days later, my mom told me she heard knocks and someone washing the dishes the same night before around the same time I heard mine. I was shocked because it was the same thing at the same time but different people and different night. Until then she was not aware of what I witnessed. After her telling me that, I also told her I experienced that too. And weirdly the following nights it stopped. On the 3rd night that I slept with them, I woke up at around 3:30 a.m. because it was so hot, because without us knowing there was a power blackout in the city. So I got back to bed and slept, just then I dreamt of losing a tooth. In our culture, if you dream of losing a tooth it means someone may die. In my dream I learned that something bad was going to happen, I just couldn't pinpoint what it is. Oddly, I forgot about my dream until what happened to me this morning. But before that, I want to tell you that these past few days, I felt like I became sensitive to them. While at work, I always have this feeling of being watched. One time I went to the CR and heard someone in the cubicle, but when I went out no one else was. She cannot get out without me noticing her because I was in the cubicle nearest the door. I try to ignore this feeling thinking I am just hallucinating or what. I just can't believe that I am experiencing this at that rate, like daily. Here's what happened just this morning, 3 hours ago. I was on my way to work and for the first time I did not say goodbye to my mom. I always tell her I'm leaving when I leave for work. It's just that this morning due to an unknown reason I did not say goodbye. For transportation, I ride a jeepney to work. In fact, it takes 2 rides to reach our office. I was about to have my second ride. I was crossing the street through the pedestrian lane when I was hit by a taxicab. I was stunned, shocked, and afraid. The good thing is nothing really happened to me, just a few scratches and an unusable shoe. The people who witnessed in fact told me I was indeed lucky because the taxi just kind of sideswept me. They are even amazed that I was still standing on my feet after what happened. I cannot even believe too. Now I am just wondering if the things that happened this week are related or are they just coincidences. I am really confused now, I need help. And do you think someone in my family will die, or am I? I really need inputs. Thank you. Black Lady. I have lots of paranormal experiences in the past, but this one really stood out. This happened in my room during the wee hours of the morning. I am sharing my room with our maids, which I absolutely hate, but that time I was really thankful. Anyway, it was about 2:50 a.m. when I suddenly woke up. I felt cold, colder than usual. I felt as if someone was touching my face. I felt cold fingers run down my cheeks. I was still groggy that it did not register immediately to me. My immediate reaction was to check my cell phone to know what time was it. I still could not figure out why I woke up because I did not feel I need to go to the bathroom. That is when I finally looked at the left side of my bed and to my surprise I saw a woman in black. I thought it was one of our maids who woken up to go to the bathroom. So I immediately looked at their bed if one of them is missing, and to my horror they were both there sleeping. I got really scared. I froze and just looked at the figure feeling that I'm imagining the whole thing, so I closed my eyes. To my horror it was still there. It was women base from the figure it. The ghost's shoulders were high, like she has an asthma and having a hard time breathing, but all I know she was staring at me also. I screamed and fell down the bed, scraping my arm. I jumped at the bed of our maids. The figure of the woman was shocked by how I reacted. I saw the figure moving up and down the aisle of my bed like she was scared also. I screamed to one of the maids to open the lights. There was a long debate between the 2 maids who would open the light until finally one did open the lights. After that experience I could not sleep unless the lights are open, fearing the black woman would appear yet again. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.